So taking your time with your food, chewing your food, smelling your food, being grateful for your food, like taking a moment to like honor your food and really pacify your nervous system before eating. So if you can get your body into a calm and safe state where you feel you're not worried about your to-do list, or you're not, taking bites of food in between. Like, we want to be undistracted. We want the nervous system nice and calm. That's when we're in our rest and digest state. It's going to have a bigger impact than you think.
Welcome to Salad with a Side of Fries. I'm your host, Jenn Trepeck, talking wellness and weight loss for real life. We're here to clear up the myths, misinformation, bad science, and marketing to teach you how to eat and how to cheat. Are you ready? I'm having salad with a side of fries. Hey friend, welcome back to Salad with a Side of Fries. I'm Jenn Trepeck, your host and health coach, here with you every week for wellness without the weirdness. And I have to say, probably one of the chief complaints I hear from people when they hear what I do for a living, they just start sharing things, which I do sort of love. But the thing that I probably hear most is that they tell me they're bloated. Or they tell me that they've received a diagnosis of IBS. And in my last conversation with today's guest, we had a conversation about how this is a joke of a diagnosis. So let me introduce you. She's a certified holistic health coach, gut health specialist, and the founder of Hannah. Her functional nutrition practice, taking a root cause approach to repairing the gut for real. After struggling with her own chronic digestive issues for years, she dove headfirst into the latest in gut health research, seeking answers to her bloating, food sensitivities, and pain. With her science-backed formula, she's overcome her own digestive issues and has helped hundreds of other women around the world do the same. We're thrilled to have her in the Salad with a Side of Fries family. Please help me welcome Hannah Aylward.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to chat.
Yeah, for sure. Me too. I feel like this has been a long time in the making.
Yes.
So I want to start with more of your story because I think, like so many of us, we start from our own stuff, but also I think your story is so relatable. But really quick, we got to tell our members what they're getting this week. So members, your recipe this week is for zesty lime shrimp and avocado salad. It's perfect for August because it is a no-cook recipe. Beyond easy to put together and absolutely delicious. So if you want this recipe, be sure you're a member. You're going to go to glow.fm/salad with a side of fries. For just $10 a month, you get weekly recipes, a monthly article or tool, extra discounts from me and our partners, plus access to live Q&A sessions. It's a total deal. I say it all the time. It's a steal when you take advantage of the full offerings because you save far more than that $10 cost. It's seriously a no-brainer way to show yourself that your health is a priority. Plus, being a member supports this podcast and this community so we can continue to bring you new episodes and experts every week. So remember, all you have to do is head to glow.fm/salad with a side of fries, or just click the link in the episode notes because then it's easier and you don't have to remember the whole thing. Once you're there, you click the little I agree and then support now. Enter your email and payment info, click subscribe, and you're all set. You'll get this week's recipe for the zesty lime shrimp and avocado salad. Okay, Han, over to you. Like I said, we heard a little bit of your story in introducing you, but share more about what you experienced and even what you were doing before you became a health coach.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I was someone that I was kind of like the healthy, girl of my friend group. Like everyone kind of came to me for pointers and all of that. I was very interested in nutrition and eating well. And I used to play sports very competitively. So, exercising and all of that was like of big interest to me. But I was still really struggling with digestive issues that were kind of chronically getting worse and worse. So I was like eating quote unquote clean. I was like gluten-free and dairy-free for a decade. I mean, this was like before these products were on the market. Like Simple Mills didn't exist. Like it was like, if you're making almond milk, you're making it at home or you're getting Silk. Like It was like, and I'm not even saying I'm old. It's just like how much things have grown in the last 10 years is insane. But this was before it was kind of like trendy. I was really trying to figure out like what the heck was going on. And I was not eating processed foods. I was eating, whole foods, all of that. And I was still, looking, I could look 6 months pregnant with like belly bloating by the end of the day. And it was really starting to weigh on my life. And I was just kind of like, something is wrong. Like I am young, I am healthy. I mean, I have like no underlying diseases. Like I'm eating super well. Everyone comments on how healthy I eat. I exercise all the time. what the heck is going on? And that's when I really started to dig deeper into gut health and what gut health actually was. And we're still really learning like a lot about it, like full transparency. We still don't know a lot about it, but we also know so much like where we can start to help people, but definitely in developing fields. But that's when I really started to dive deeper into like what's going on that's kind of causing me to react to these foods, because it started to kind of appear to me that it wasn't just the food, because I was eating a lot of these healthy foods, these clean foods. And that's where I started to dig deeper and realize that there was some underlying like imbalances. There were underlying imbalances in my gut that were present that were causing these symptoms, this bloating. I mean, I like lost my period for 2 years. I was struggling with insomnia, constipation. I mean, it was like symptoms go like full system wide, right? So I was just kind of, like most people, hitting my head against the wall, trying lots of things, like trying all these diets. I lived on an elimination diet. I didn't know you like weren't supposed to. I thought it was helping me per all of the functional medicine doctors on the internet. So I just did it and I didn't really look back, and it helped a little bit, but it kind of helped like maybe 20%, 30%, but there was still like, I'm still having all these symptoms. So what the heck's going on? I mean, I've spent hundreds and hundreds on like supplements and all of that, and no one could really help me. And I was doing all the things, right? Like I was like eating the fiber and I was taking the probiotics and I was taking L-glutamine, and I was just like, what is going on? Like, do I just have to live with this? And I had, I call them my like fall to my knees moments, where I was just like, something is wrong. Like, I guess this is just how it is. And if anyone has experienced that, like, right? It starts to weigh on your mental health. It starts to weigh on your confidence. It starts to weigh on everything, your relationships. You don't want to go out to eat anymore. You don't want to go out and see your friends anymore. You're exhausted. You don't want to travel. You're terrified to be away from a bathroom, or you're terrified that you'll be constipated for a week or whatever it might be. So it's like, I talk a lot about bloating. It's probably the number one reason why people come to see us. And we help people with like Hashimoto's and eczema and all sorts of things. But bloating is like number one thing. And it's very apparent that, it's not just the bloating. It's like the impact that it starts to have on our entire lives, So that's why I really wanted to get into this work and help more women through this.
Yeah, I want to jump back to something that you said, which I think is such a common misconception. And that is living on an elimination diet. For the most part, like, we eat healthy, and then we're told that it's the dairy, it's the gluten that's causing an issue. We pull it out and we're still having issues. Then we're afraid to add things back in. But also, an elimination diet is not meant for forever. Yeah. So will you speak to some of that? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And I think, I get it. Once again, I think I lived on an elimination diet for like probably 5 years with tiny, going off of it in little ways, but you get so scared. You're so scared. And the fear of going back in your healing journey is like more scary than like eating a donut. So you're just like, I would rather not. And that's where most of our clients are. Like, they're advanced, it's not like they're like eating fast food all the time. They're like, they've done tons of research. They're very educated. They've tried loads of things. So if you're feeling that way, you're not alone in that. And that doesn't mean you're broken and there's something like wrong. Like, we can still get you feeling a lot better. And I think that's just so important to share, because as women, we really can just be so hard on ourselves, I think too. But an elimination diet is really like a therapeutic approach that can be, or intervention that can be brought in for a period of time. And I'm not knocking them entirely. Like, I think that we use like, I say like light versions of an elimination diet with our clients.
Totally.
While doing everything else. So an elimination diet alone will not heal your gut. An elimination diet can help to like quell inflammation. It can like take out some like triggers. It can, if you have like Hashimoto's or celiac, that's kind of a different conversation. We really need to eliminate gluten a bit more seriously, but it's an intervention, but we have to make sure that we are actually like repairing the gut at the root cause level. So you can then reintroduce these foods and no longer like react to these foods. That's kind of our goal. So our goal is to get clients to the point where they can eat more foods with less pain, really. And in order to do that, we have to look at where the food is entering. So the environment in which the food is like landing in. So that conversation, I think, is pretty heavily missed. It's like, don't eat nightshades, don't eat nuts and seeds, don't eat gluten, don't eat sugar. But no one's really talking about like, why do we have to take out these foods in the first place when I used to eat bell peppers just fine? Or I used to eat bowls of ice cream as a kid and I had no issue, right? I had no stomach ache or anything like that. So I talk extensively about like repairing the gut environment so we can then tolerate more foods, and then you can like live your life a bit more too.
100%. I want to come back to the gut environment in a second, because I think what's so key here and that I want to repeat is that the objective of the elimination diet is that we pull things out to create a healing opportunity so that we can then add things back in and your body doesn't react the same way it once did once there's been that healing.
Yes. Yeah. And I think people can get confused because I just think like when you're trying to figure it out on your own, you do a lot of research. There's like Instagram and internet blog posts and everything. And there's like some like leaders in the space. There's like big functional medicine doctors and all of that kind of have huge platforms. And it's like the elimination diet is pushed pretty heavily, I would say. And once again, it's not that it's wrong. It's just that it's like not the whole story. So we just want to be mindful of that, what can be useful. But the goal is, to be able to reintroduce the foods afterwards. Same with low FODMAP. So if anyone's on the low FODMAP diet, that was really to be used as a therapeutic intervention for like 6 weeks. Like we really shouldn't have clients on it for more than, I would say like max 12 weeks, because we'll see that it'll cause a reduction in bacterial diversity, which is having the opposite effect that we want, right? It's also incredibly difficult to like adhere to. People just start to like, they're like, I can't do this anymore, So when you feel like you have to count your pieces of broccoli, it's like, I cannot do this. It's not, I think it's more difficult than like just gluten or dairy. That's kind of like an overarching like food group. It's like,
agreed.
Oh my gosh, I have to like count out my avocado slices. Like this is nuts, So, and it doesn't mean it doesn't work. It can help to reduce symptoms temporarily, but why do we have to eliminate the FODMAPs in the first place? Because FODMAPs are just fermentable carbohydrates that are in a lot of healthy foods. Veggies, fruits, right? So it's not the FODMAP that's the issue. It's the gut, probably like gut dysbiosis, that's causing the reaction to the FODMAP. So it's just so important because it's, I think what we'll see in clients is, I think people are quick to just like take foods out of the diet. They're like, fine, I'll just rip it out. I'll never eat it again.
It's the easy button till it's not.
Yes. And then it's like, it's very quick to then we're like only eating 5 foods, or then we're like literally terrified to have a piece of cheese. And I just don't want that for anyone. It does not have to be that way.
For sure. And then the other piece, and going back to sort of where I started this, is like IBS is a joke of a diagnosis. I often say like IBS is a BS diagnosis, right? And it's sort of similar where it's just not the whole story.
Yes.
Right? Say more to like how you talk about IBS.
Yeah. So IBS just stands for irritable bowel syndrome. And any syndrome is simply a collection of symptoms that exist together. So same with like PCOS. It's a polycystic ovarian syndrome, meaning you've got these symptoms, right? But there's no real explanation or root cause to why you have these symptoms. So the work that we do with clients is to dig deeper and understand why you have these symptoms in the first place. So in the case of IBS, it's like, you're probably bloated. You probably have constipation, diarrhea. Probably it could be one or the other. You could alternate between the two. You feel like you don't digest food well. You've got stomach pain. That's like pretty typical, but it's a diagnosis of exclusion. So they're just looking for like, okay, do you have this? No. Do you have this? No. Do you have this? No. Okay. So then we don't really know what's going on. So like you have irritable bowel syndrome, and saying your bowels are irritable, I'm kind of like, okay, well, why? Like what does that mean? We have to dig deeper into that. And it's very commonly, like we've got gut dysbiosis or low stomach acid, or we've got an infection, or we've got, low pancreatic enzyme secretion, or whatever it is. And these things can be fixed. So we help people. I would say 75% of the clients that we see have been diagnosed with IBS and essentially leave our program without IBS anymore.
Yeah, for sure. And so let's talk for a minute, because not all bloating is an indication of more going on. Mm-hmm. So how can we help people differentiate sort of like natural expected bloating versus bloating that's an indication of needing to dig deeper?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that a little bit of bloating after you like go out for some pizza and have a few beers is not really a problem. I think if you're waking up feeling bloated already, you haven't even eaten anything. If you feel like you're bloated after you drink water, clients will tell us that they are bloated after they have like a few sips of water. That's a sign something's wrong. If you feel bloated after eating like healthy foods that you once were able to eat no problem, not like a bucket of broccoli, but you're just having like a regular meal. Like if anyone eats a bucket of broccoli, you might feel a little bloated, but that's a lot. There's a lot of fiber and fermentable carbohydrates. But if you're just having like a plate and you're finding yourself eating these like healthy foods, you're having salmon and broccoli and sweet potato and you're bloated, like that's when it's like something else is going on here. And I would say if you notice that your bloating gets significantly worse as the day goes on to the point where you want to like stick a pin in your tummy and deflate it, like it feels like a balloon because it's very uncomfy. Like it's very different from just like fat, abdominal fat, right? Like fat is like soft and cushy and cozy, and bloating is like hard and painful and you want to like unbutton your pants, right? So these are different feelings. And it comes with like a gassiness, and you're just like, people are like, I want to pop, you know, like I feel like I could pop. So if you are experiencing that regularly, like it's not like on a Friday night after like late night food or something like that. It's Monday through Sunday. I mean, every day or multiple times a week, or you're also having other symptoms alongside it. So we see a lot of chronic skin issues. And if you're having like acne or rosacea or psoriasis or eczema, and you also have these digestive issues, big sign there's something going on in your gut. If you feel like totally exhausted, doesn't matter how much sleep you get, big sign there's something going on in your gut as well. If you have been diagnosed with Hashimoto's, like we've got to look at your gut. So if you have any other kind of like coexisting symptoms that aren't even just digestive symptoms, that can be another indicator as well. But yeah, I would say like, you know, it's not like, oh, I had a little bit of bloating this one day. It's like, I'm dealing with this regularly and it's impacting my life.
Yeah. And I think to your point before of like the impacting your life is a big piece.
Yes, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, you get this one life, you know, you just should not have to live with battling your body every day. And I like to say, like, we want to get your body back on your side. And I think that's where, to be quite frank, like my entire life changed because I lived so many years like fighting my body. It felt like an uphill battle. It felt like I had to fight my weight. It felt like I had to fight my digestion. It felt like I had to fight my energy. I was like gripping on like the control was so serious to just like feel okay and feel normal. And once I moved through that, I mean, my life opened up. Like everything is easier. I have more energy to run my business. I couldn't have created this business with feeling the way that I used to feel, you know? And it affected my relationships and my confidence and everything. So that's like a huge thing. There is another option is what I'll say.
Yes, 1,000%. So let's talk to that because I know people listening are sitting here going, I do minimize gluten. I eat very minimal dairy. I eat whole foods and I have this bloating that does feel like stick a pin in me, right? So sometimes it could be bacterial, sometimes fungal, sometimes parasites. So why are people experiencing this even when they're eating well? And, you know, when might they need testing?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So two kind of different answers here. In regards to when you need testing, I would go back to what I said previously. Like if you feel like this is really impacting your life and you've already made some nutrition adjustments. So nutrition adjustments are kind of like first line of defense that people kind of like bring into play. They take out processed foods, they minimize gluten and dairy. If you've done all of that and you're still feeling this way, it's time to work with someone that is an expert in this and explore some functional testing, I would say. Or if you just are like ready to optimize, you want to feel a lot better, or you want to get pregnant, you're having issues getting pregnant. So, you know, I can really take the conversation in another direction. But if you feel like it's really impacting your life, you've made the adjustments that you know how to make, you've tried probiotics, you're like, what the heck? Let's do some testing. In regards to why people are struggling with this, oh my gosh, I think this could be an entire podcast. So just this.
I know.
But I think many reasons, and I'll try to go quickly, but you know, heavy antibiotic use, like many people have a history of big antibiotic use. And, you know, when I talk to like my mom about it, she's like, honey, we didn't know. Like I had no idea that this was like bad for you, you know? And when I think back to my childhood, I was probably on like 3 antibiotics every cold season. I mean, I was getting sick all the time. I had no idea, you know, and that doesn't lead to any good in your gut. And sometimes they're super necessary. Like I'm not here to knock antibiotics. They were developed for a reason. They can save your life. Like if you really need them, take them. What we want to avoid is like the over prescribing of them, especially if we don't even know that you need them. So just be mindful of them. Like when you're being prescribed one, you know, do your due diligence and think, do I really need this? But that causes like dysbiosis in the gut. It wipes out all your gut bacteria. So good and bad. And that is kind of setting the environment for like fungal overgrowth. It's setting the environment for like yeast overgrowth or candida overgrowth or something like that. And you also have to rebuild your gut with all those good gut bacteria. And that can take like 6 months to a year, you know? So that's a big thing. Then we've got hormonal birth control. That's definitely like causing some issues for a lot of people. I think what we see in practice the most with birth control is it causing fungal overgrowth. Like I do think it can contribute to dysbiosis, but like bacterial dysbiosis, but I see it a lot with like fungal issues. I don't really have like a research paper to back that, but that's just like the pattern that we see in clients. It's helped a lot of people at this point. And then we have like chronic stress. We have the processed foods, of course, you know, and then we also have just like the fact that we're kind of inundated with toxins, like nonstop. So it can feel really like negative or just like, oh, there's no hope. And that's not the point of me saying that. It's just like, I get a little frustrated when people are like, you don't have to really support, like you have a liver, you don't need to support detoxification.
I hate when people say that. Sorry, that was such a guttural sound. It's my biggest pet peeve.
Yeah, I'm like, you've never worked with anyone with chronic illness. That's very clear.
Well, and like, okay, so I just have to, a couple things on the birth control piece. Everybody, we have 2 episodes about birth control from, I think it was August of 2023. Go back to those. We have the body's daily detox as an episode. And there's also an episode about debunking detox where we talked about how to do a quality 7-day detox. Because to your point, yes, the body does have ways to naturally detoxify. And our modern lives put an incredible burden on those symptoms that if we don't, the way I think of it is like, if we don't lift the weight off our body's detox system, we're going to just tax it and it's sort of going to poop out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just kind of like a matter of time. Like it's usually not for some people that we see. It's like, I got food poisoning. My gut was never the same. So we're dealing with like foodborne illness causing SIBO that's caused these digestive issues or like a parasitic infection. You know, that's kind of one sector. But for most people, it's been chronically developing over time. And it's just kind of like, the toxic load is just like overflowing. It's too high. And as women, we're inundated with toxins. As people, we are, but women tend to get higher toxin exposure through like personal care products, perfume, skin care, hair care, and all that. We just come into contact. We use a lot more stuff, right? So we want to be mindful of that. And there are toxicity levels, and people weren't even thinking about this before, you know? So it's not just the food that we eat. It's not just the stress. It's not just the skincare. It's like the combo of all of it. You know, I do think though that stress plays a huge role because I get this question a lot, honestly, on my Instagram, because I'll share like, look at all the new clients in the next round of my program. And it's like, you know, 95% women. And some people are like, why is it all women? And do you have any insight into that? And I'm like, well, I think I attract more women, but also because there's many answers to this, but I think because most women also have a history of like yo-yo dieting, putting their bodies under massive amounts of stress. Our hormonal panel and like fluctuations are entirely different, right? So there's a lot there, but I think that the chronic stress over time of anyone that's like counted out their almonds, which I've done, right? Like that.
100%. I have counted all the things there are to count.
Yes. Yeah. And that what we don't know is it's putting our bodies under so much stress. And with high stress comes high cortisol, comes degradation of the gut lining, lower stomach acid production, low gut immune function. Oh, we've got IBS, you know? So lots of reasons why people have this stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And to your point, you're not doomed. There's a lot that we can do even at home right now, even before you get testing, even if you're sitting here saying, I need testing. So I want to shift into all of that. But really quick, let's take a break to highlight our partner for this episode. Big thanks to DNA Miracles for supporting Salad with a Side of Fries. Because every child is a miracle, DNA Miracles provides the highest quality body and wellness products designed for babies, children, and expectant mothers. All products are gentle, easy to use, and 100% effective when used as directed. DNA Miracles partner with leading health professionals and scientists who follow the highest standards in ingredient selection to create the most effective skin, hair, and health solutions. As natural as possible, DNA Miracles is the best and safest option on the market for you and your little miracle. From expert pediatricians to real family testimonials, everyone has fallen in love with DNA Miracles. So as we're talking about digestion and eating a variety of foods and all those kinds of things, I think we can agree that our littles probably could use some support around that. So that is why DNA Miracles created 3 different multivitamins. 1 is a chewable option. 2 are isotonic capable, which means improved bioavailability. And the DNA Miracles Isotonics Multivitamin Plus was formulated to support the needs of children who need particular nutritional support in the areas of digestive, neurological, and metabolic health. So truly a phenomenal formula to set up your kids for success each day. And then when you're ready, you can level up with the DNA Miracles Essential Omega-3. It is beyond delicious. It tastes like a creamsicle. Your kids are going to love it. You might even need to hide it. So I think we can all agree the health of your littles is worth a couple dollars a day. And that's before your discount for being a Salad with a Side of Fries listener. To get 10% off and free shipping, text the word miracles, MIRACLES, to 844-947-4846. You'll get the link and coupon code right to your phone. Again, simply text the word miracles, MIRACLES, to 844-947-4846. This is a toll-free number. Standard text and data rates may apply. Okay, Hannah, back to you. What are some of the things that we can start to do right now to optimize our digestion?
Yes, so many things that we can do. So, digestion is really a north to south process. So digestion starts in the brain. And a lot of the conversation is all about the gut microbiome, and that's amazing. But before food even makes it into the gut microbiome, our body is priming for digestion, essentially. So if you can spend more time with your food, smelling your food, cooking your food, enjoying your food, chewing your food, like these are how we set our bodies up to properly digest our food. Because once again, before any food particles are going into feeding our gut bacteria, we are hoping that we're breaking them down well, right? Because lack of breaking down our food efficiently will cause bloating, even if there's no gut dysbiosis, even if there's no bacterial issue. So a lot of people aren't chewing their food enough. So really, like I always say, you don't have teeth anywhere else in your GI tract. Like you got them in your mouth, and this is the only like mechanical process that we have for breaking down this food into smaller particles. After that, you're really relying on your digestive juices. So chew, want to chew each bite to like applesauce consistency. Take your time eating. People always make fun of me. They're like, you're the slowest eater. I'm like, I'm just not rushing. That's it, So taking your time with your food, chewing your food, smelling your food, being grateful for your food, like taking a moment to like honor your food and really pacify your nervous system before eating. So if you can get your body into a calm and safe state where you feel you're not worried about your to-do list, or you're not, taking bites of food in between answering emails or scrolling on Instagram or whatever it is. Like we want to be undistracted. We want the nervous system nice and calm. That's when we're in our rest and digest state. It's going to have a bigger impact than you think. So this applies with all of our clients, even if they have parasitic infections or H. pylori or candida overgrowth. It doesn't matter. We want to address all of that, but we also have to make sure we're supporting the nervous system and we're breaking down our food efficiently. So those are like really just easy things that you can do. So 6 deep belly breaths before eating each meal, helping to calm and pacify the nervous system, chewing your food to applesauce consistency. Like everyone can start there, and it's free and it's easy.
I love it. Yeah. I want to, you talked about, I challenge my clients all the time, like the perfect time to turn on rest and digest is right before we eat. And the easiest way to do that is with slowing down our breathing. Yeah. So I often say 3. I love that you went to 6. And the piece of slowing down to actually experience the food and recognize that like digestion is starting well before the food actually hits the stomach is so helpful, I think, because it reminds me, I did a nutrition nugget about fast food, but it wasn't like fast food out a window. It was all the, like when you eat standing up, what you can make anything nutritious turn into fast food in your body if we don't take the time, like you're saying. So I love that so much. And then even with gut dysbiosis, what are some of the food tweaks? I mean, we've talked about sort of elimination things, but also even thinking about like bile enzymes versus digestive enzymes versus like low stomach acid. How might somebody even start to identify where they want to target their effort?
Yeah. So typically, we can tell a lot from symptoms. I will say like a good thorough symptom assessment we're doing on all clients. The labs are also helpful like to validate and all of that. But if you're just trying to like workshop some stuff at home, you can look at your symptoms, So usually with low stomach acid, we'll have like burping soon after eating. We may feel heavier after eating protein-rich foods because stomach acid helps us to break down proteins. So if you're someone that's like has an aversion to meat, not for like ethical beliefs or like religious beliefs, it's just like, you're like, I feel like I can't eat this or digest it very well. We might want to look into your stomach acid. If you have like weak and peeling, cracking fingernails, we might want to look into your stomach acid levels. If there's a lot of burping right after eating, or if you get bloated within like 30 minutes of eating, we can kind of see that that might be a stomach acid issue. If you have an issue breaking down carbohydrates, that can kind of signal an enzyme issue. If you have undigested food particles in your stool, that can be a sign of like poor pancreatic enzyme secretion. Some of these overlap. So like that could also be low stomach acid. Stomach acid impacts your enzyme production. So it's all kind of connected, but those can be some tools. And then with bile, usually, but not always, people have issues with fats because bile helps to break down fats and helps us absorb fat soluble nutrients. So usually we'll have like floating stools. We'll have maybe even nausea, like after eating foods higher in fat, even healthy foods. So like avocado, coconut, nuts and seeds. If you're someone that's like, I get so bloated after I eat almond butter or I eat avocado, like that could be a big sign. So you want to look into any issues with fats and or like big hormonal issues. So if you've got like big PMS, really painful periods, that can also be another sign because our liver is, phase 1 and phase 2 of estrogen detoxification occur in the liver. And then phase 3 is through the gut. So a lot of the time people with really painful periods will have some, we've got to look at liver health. With thyroid health, we've got to look at liver health. But those are kind of some symptoms that you can look at to see like, oh, now she says it, like I'm burping right after I eat. Like that can be a low stomach acid thing. And in that case, chewing your food well, getting into the parasympathetic, like all of these things are really, really needed because stress will down regulate stomach acid production.
Yeah. And I hope what everybody's taking from this is the empowerment of not everything requires a super dramatic intervention. Because I don't know about you, I hear a lot about gallbladder removal.
No, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I was asked this on another big podcast and we had so many people come our way from my comments on it. Yes. Gallbladder removals are more common in women because we're more susceptible because of our hormones, more estrogen in the gallbladder. They're intricately connected. So yes, personally, my first line of intervention would not be to remove an organ. I don't really,
right.
With that being said, there's a time and place. If you are having like a gallstone that's blocking the bile duct, that could like really cause severe issues, that's kind of another conversation. But if you are, hey, I'm having some issues going to your doctor and they're like, oh, well, we don't really, sometimes I have heard from clients that they actually don't know, like they've gone into the doctor, their doctor's been like, well, your gallbladder kind of looks okay, but like, I think we should remove it. And I'm like, absolutely not. Like, I cannot believe that happened. So just like have good conversations and be your own advocate. Like you've got to stand up for yourself. And I know it really shouldn't have to be that way, but unfortunately it is that way. So yes, my first line of intervention would not be to remove the organ. There's so much that we can do. So we've had a few clients come in with some liver gallbladder stuff, gone in for some scans. It's shown gallstones, worked with us for a few months. They go back, they're gone. So it's not like I'm not touting some like miracle, like, or anything like that. I wouldn't say that could happen with everyone, but my point is there's so much that we can do to support liver and gallbladder function before like immediately removing the organ. So get a second opinion, work with a functional practitioner, message me, whatever it is, like, and we'll tell people too, I'm like, I think this is up to you and your doctor, or there's a lot that we can do here. And there's a lot you can do while you work with your doctor on it, at home. So
100%. And I see it all the time with meds for blood sugar and cholesterol and all these kinds of things. I'm like, first of all, to your point, right? If your doctor isn't explaining something, it's okay to ask questions. And it's okay to find another doctor who's willing to dialogue with you.
Yeah.
And it's also okay to say to the doctor, would you give me 12 weeks?
Yeah.
Right? Can I work on this? Like, do you feel like in the next 12 weeks, there's a sense of urgency, or can I do some nutritional interventions to see what kind of progress I can make, and then we reevaluate?
Yeah, beautiful. Like absolutely fantastic. Yeah. And, that's your doctor's call to either say, this is pretty emergency, we got to do this, or like, oh yeah, now that you say that, we can take a look, or we can check in 6 weeks or whatever it is, and see how things are going. But if you've got a gallbladder, if you are being told you need a gallbladder removal, there's been a liver issue for a long time, because your liver produces bile and your gallbladder just pushes it out. And while the gallbladder isn't like a vital organ to like you surviving, it still plays a very important role. So if it's been removed, you will need bile support forever going forward because you're still producing it, but your gallbladder isn't essentially like pushing it out at meal times to help you break down these fats specifically. And it's also antimicrobial in nature. So it helps to keep things like more sterile, the small intestine more sterile, which is not entirely sterile, but when we remove that, we don't have that bile flow. We can increase our risk for things like SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, hormonal issues, and all of that. So the bigger, like when we widen the lens, liver issues have been happening. Bile's getting sludgy for a while before it's like, whoa, we need to remove the gallbladder. It's not really like the gallbladder's fault.
Right. 100%. And, again, it's so much of this is just symptomatic of how I think, quote unquote, this system, right, addresses everything. Like you aren't healthy the day before a heart attack either, right? A lot of things have been happening over time that are sort of flying under the radar. And so hopefully from our conversation, people are, and from listening to this podcast, right, people are more and more aware of what's happening in their bodies and are being their own advocate for that true prevention, early detection, far beyond just showing up to a doctor once a year.
Yes, absolutely. And I think people tend to, usually we don't deal with something unless it's like really in our face, and that's just human nature.
Right.
We won't really deal with our finances or our health or whatever it is until it's like, oh my gosh, like what happened? But I wish, this work, it's so near and dear to my heart. And I wish everyone would dig deeper into their gut health, even if they have no digestive symptoms, because it influences like fertility and skin and energy and just everything. Hair growth, it's all these systems are interconnected. And you're exactly right when saying like these things have been brewing, it's even when you're diagnosed with pre-diabetes, it's like things have been happening for a little while to even get you to that point. And then the pre-diabetes will be present for years and years to then get you to the point of diabetes, So there's so much, it can feel a little maybe scary, but I hope it's having the opposite effect where people are like, oh my gosh, there's so much that I can do at home to prevent some of this stuff because you really, really can.
Yes, 100%. I feel like that's a great place to like put a pin in it. Anything we missed, anything we'd be remiss if we didn't answer or talk about.
Oh my gosh. The other thing I like to leave people with when in regards to like supporting their gut health at home right now is to increase their plant diversity if they can. So if you feel like you cannot tolerate many plants, come talk to us. If you feel like you're like, oh, I'm just trying to like increase, help support my gut, increase your plant diversity, aim for like 30 different plant foods per week. That includes nuts and seeds. It includes herbs and spices. It includes like rice and gluten-free grains and things like that, fruits, veggies. So let's increase your diversity. Just be mindful, check in. Am I eating the same thing over and over and over again? Get out in nature more. That also has a huge influence on your gut microbiome in a healthy, positive way. And then add in more polyphenols. So polyphenol-rich foods are, Marley on my team, one of the registered dietitians on my team says they're foods that stain. So think of like beets, turmeric, these foods that like you put on your cutting board is like stained. Those are foods are really rich in polyphenols, and polyphenols, like our gut thrives and loves polyphenols. So you can add some of those things into your diet very easily, just, after listening to this.
Absolutely. I love it. All right. So it's time for our rapid fire off topic questions that I ask every expert who joins us. Don't worry. They're easy. Okay. What's the best thing you've done for your health this week? And what's the naughtiest thing you've done related to your health this week? Because balance.
Oh my gosh. The best thing I've done for my health is rest. I just got back from Europe. I was in Europe for 3 weeks. So there was a lot of naughty things.
Love it.
So there was a lot of Aperol spritz. That's maybe my most naughty, but honestly, I think that's as supportive.
It is. That's like, we need it all.
Exactly.
Which is why I don't only ask about the healthful.
Yeah. Health, rest, naughty, Aperol spritz.
Yes. Love it. If you weren't a holistic health coach, what would you do?
I would be a singer. I wanted to be a singer my entire life. I love to sing. So I would hopefully be like, I don't know, Taylor Swift.
Wouldn't we all? Favorite book on any topic other than your area of expertise? Oh. Or you could give us a fiction book.
This is kind of also part of my career, but like the self-development stuff and like spirituality is like my jam. So any book to do with that, honestly. But I just read, which is entirely different. I just read It Ends With Us, which is like fiction.
Yep.
I'm like 2 years late to the party, but that was fantastic. So,
well, the movie is coming out.
I am so excited. I'm going to have a full party.
Love it. If you could cure one ailment, disease, or sickness, what would it be?
IBS, but we're doing it.
If you were a superhero, what would be your superpower?
Oh my gosh, I've never thought about this. Flying? I don't know.
It's a popular one. What's your biggest pet peeve?
Okay, this is going to sound very silly, but when people go in the wrong direction, when there's a sign that says like, do not enter, like this is a one way, and people go in it to like save time or cut through, there's like a rage that comes out of me. Like I'm ready to get out of my car and stand in front of their car with my hand up. Like, I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm a rule follower in some way, but that drives me up a wall. I'm like, you don't have the ability to save your 30 seconds and cut all these people and endanger someone. So I don't know what it is, but that really grinds my gears.
So relatable. 100%. All right. Last one. In your opinion, what's the next frontier in wellness?
Like trauma, like more people getting support for trauma and moving through trauma, and not in just like a talk therapy way, but I think like somatic processing and potentially psychedelics and things like that. But I think that nervous system regulation and just like moving through trauma, coming out the other side is, I think, where everything's like going and would benefit everyone.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being here, sharing your story and your knowledge. Tell everybody how to connect with you, where to learn more.
Yes. So I'm pretty active on Instagram at Hannah Aylward HHC. We'll make sure that my name or that we've got that link. My last name's a little bit of a doozy, but I do like weekly Q&As there. I do live trainings on there. I'm like very active with my community, always teaching, always sharing. So come on over, say hi. Would love to connect there. And then our website is just hannahaylward.com. And I've got a team of functional registered dietitians. So it's not just me. And, we help people really all over the world. So if this has really resonated with you, like don't be a stranger, reach out. We'll see if we're a good fit. If we're not, we'll tell you that too. But the more people that we can help, the better.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again. Appreciate your time, your perspective, everything. So
thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. All right, friends. On Friday for this week's bonus episode Nutrition Nugget, we're talking about Velveeta. And I paused before I said that because I am even dumbfounded that we're having this conversation. So let me explain. I am on the side of the internet where I am fed recipes and absurd recipes. If you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen me like react to them. So there's one recently, I'll post it the day this goes live. So this recipe had a giant brick of Velveeta in the center of it. And then it went in the oven for an absurd amount of time and came out and it was like still a brick. And so I was like, first of all, I didn't even know people were still eating Velveeta. And now it's making me need to go look at what is in it. Is it still what it was years ago? So anyway, we're going to look at it together in this week's bonus episode. So be sure wherever you're listening now, click the plus sign or the follow button on your app so that your app will alert you when the Nutrition Nugget bonus episode goes live on Friday. Well, as always, everybody, I'm your health coach and host, Jenn Trepeck. Connect with me on Instagram or all social media. I'm at Jenn Trepeck, JENNTREPECK. Website is asaladwithasideoffries.com. Pick your platform, send a message. I want to hear your takeaways, your ideas, your questions. This is also the easiest way to learn more about working with me as your health coach. Hannah Aylward, thank you again for joining us.
Yes, thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. And friends, if you are not already, join our membership program by going to glow.fm/saladwithasideoffries. This shows your support for this podcast, this community, and most importantly, supports your health. You'll get this week's recipe for the zesty lime shrimp and avocado salad. So until next week, remember, sometimes bloating is natural, and sometimes it's a sign of more going on. And yet, we can do better than settling for a diagnosis that doesn't tell us much. Well, friends, that's it for today's episode of Salad with a Side of Fries. Congratulations for making yourself and your health a priority. Thanks so much for joining us. Be sure to click subscribe or follow on your favorite podcast platform. Share us with a friend, and we'll be back next week. Always remember, you deserve it, and you are worth it. Happy healthy.